Translation. By exhibiting his potencies, the Supreme Personality of Godhead adjusts all these different elements, keeping himself within as the Supersoul and without as time. Krishna says, I am the giver of knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. This is the Supersoul. I am the destroyer of all things. This is the time factor, also the form of a personality of Godhead. So it's going on. The 24 elements of the material universe, that's all there is. And the living entity has become entangled amongst them and is identifying that this is my place. And a pure living entity, he always has the choice. Minute independence. Surrender to Krishna, serve Krishna, or not serve Krishna and try to be imitation Krishna, try to be the enjoyer. But the living entity is Satchidananda. He's always pure. He's always transcendental. So then by the arrangement of the Lord, his consciousness is covered. And he is allowed to enter into the material realm of his covered consciousness. And from that point on, he takes on false ego, false intelligence, false mind, in the body and the coverings, and tries his best to enjoy. But even that he cannot do. He depends on his old friend, Krishna. Krishna comes in the form of a Paramatma with each and every living entity. Whatever body living entity may enter, the Lord goes along with him, trying to sanction what he wants, but at the same time witnessing what he does with his minute independence. And thus the living entity happily goes to hell again and again. He will start at the top in the position of Lord Brahma and slowly work his way down into deeper and deeper darkness until he gets trapped in the mud of the material universe. And to take care of that problem, the universe is destroyed. Everything is taken in again into the gigantic body of Mahavishnu. And then again he breathes out, and living entities get a new chance to take up their karmas and try to enjoy again. And this will carry on for eternity. That's why the conditioned living entity is called Nityabada. Nitya. Eternally tied to the material nature, eternally. There is no hope unless he comes in contact with a Vaishnava. If he's fortunate enough to come in contact with a Vaishnava, then he can get the opportunity once again, by the mercy of that Vaishnava, to take up the service of Krishna once again. Now, the previous chapter we were reading, Kapila says that devotional service, it's a sanam bonum, is the eternal, constitutional position of a living entity, to engage in devotional service. In this chapter, he's giving complete knowledge of how to become free from this material world by explaining in detail how the material world is made up, how the living entity is actually not part of this material world, and by having this understanding he can start to make an effort to get free. But still, even with that knowledge, one will not attain devotional service. If one is very, very lucky, after many births he may be able to enter into the Brahma Jyoti. And when he gets tired there, he can come back to the material world again. So this knowledge in itself will not bring the perfection of going back to Godhead, unless one comes in contact with the Vaishnava, unless one learns the principles of devotional service. Shravanam Kirtanam Smaranam Padasevam. Unless one engages in the activities of hearing and chanting, remembering Krishna, worshipping his lotus feet, offering prayers, endeavoring to become his friend. Unless one engages in these activities, he cannot redevelop his relationship with the Lord, which is the real knowledge. That knowledge is given from within. The real knowledge, not just who the Lord is, who we are, what the material world is constituted of, what the spiritual world looks like, different understandings of the form and pastimes of the Lord. These are all very wonderful things and advantageous for the living entity to turn his face again to Krishna. But until he actually starts to develop his eternal relationship with Krishna, until he actually becomes a person who is having a relationship with the Supreme Person, then real devotional service cannot take place. And for this to happen, there must be a change in the heart. Simply to have knowledge, even of the whole material universe, even to understand each and every atom in its construction, will not be sufficient for one to enter into a relationship with the Lord. But to simply, firmly decide, yes, I am Nitya Krishna Das. My constitutional position is to satisfy the senses of Krishna. When we come to that conclusion by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, then we can endeavor in that direction. That endeavor is based on desire, intense desire, but I want the service of Krishna. And as that desire grows, a huge fire begins, which burns up all remembrance of our attachment to the material world. Burns away everything. And what is left is the pure soul in his relationship with the Lord. So we have to develop this strong desire. We have to learn to cry for Krishna. And this crying has to be genuine. It's not a metaphor. Oh, you have to cry for Krishna. Not actually cry. We just have to whatever. We actually have to learn to cry for Krishna. Not to make a show in front of others to try and show that we're some kind of a great personality, but actually sincerely cry for Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When we actually realize the big mistake that we have made coming into this material world by our own free choice, and just how much we put ourselves into suffering, then we will start to cry, oh, get me out of this place. But then when we realize actually what we gave up, the eternal service of Krishna, then a different type of crying, a genuine crying will start. Oh, my dear Srimati Radharani, please engage me in the service of Krishna. Oh, dear Vaishnavas, please engage me in the service of Krishna. And as this crying takes place, as this intense desire develops, then the Bhakti Lata Bij will grow and grow and grow until it reaches the lotus feet of Krishna.